Hello, everybody. It's the Worm, and we're here with Rage and Loop, and I'm really excited for tonight. Well, I say tonight, but it's tonight for me, but it may be any time of day for all of you. I've been, well, how to describe it? Throughout the whole day, I've been thinking about the sort of things I want to say. And so, you kind of go over in your head all the different ways you could do it, and, well, I guess I've settled on talking about that experience. So, last time, there really wasn't as much Rage and Loop as there was me talking about Rage and Loop. I don't know if that's gonna also happen, but, there is quite a few things I do want to say before moving on. First things first, though, I just want to say thank you to all of you who contributed to the discussion last time. I know I didn't reply as much in the comments, and well, as I was reading everyone's responses, I was thinking, rather than type the same sorts of things over and over, I feel like it would be better if I just waited till I recorded, and then I could just speak and, talk about what I wanted to say instead of, writing the same, as I just said, write the same thing over and over. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about it now. And basically, the main topic I want to talk about is the response to my sort of I think analysis is too charitable a word to describe it, but my analysis of Haruaki from a couple episodes ago. So, I think at the time, what did I say? I can't remember particularly what I said, but I know it was probably somewhat harsh, and in retrospect now, after reading everyone's responses and reconsidering what I said, I gotta say, I think a lot of what I said was probably an overreaction. And, I think at the time, a lot of it was in reaction to my, that sort of, and I said it at the time, I think, but I think it'd be okay if I reiterated it. That whole murder scene, the fact that it was in first person, and then the subsequent mutilation was so, so unnecessary, so violent, that it really kind of shook me a bit, and that caused me in the moment to feel, well, not so good, I guess I could say. But really, now that it's been some time and I've had the chance to read everyone's responses, I can see that was too quick a judgment to make. And I think it's also, here I am sitting in this, sitting at home, in front of a desk, in a chair, all comfy, in no danger whatsoever. I can look from on high and sort of judge him, but really I'm not, I can't begin to imagine what it would be like to be in his position, what with the looping and with the crazy situation that he's in. Yeah, it makes sense that he would eventually either break, or, this accumulated stress from all this activity eventually has to be let out somehow. And it looks like that was how it happened with the events of that previous night. So I do want to get into particulars a bit, because there was just so many good ideas and topics were discussed. So I think we talked a bit about sociopathy, psychopathy, and I didn't really define terms very well, so obviously that's going to be a big issue if you're trying to discuss anything. So it was very good for me in thinking about this to have Lise come in and, you know, make it more plain what it means to be a psychopath. And particular, there was the difference between, I think, cognitive empathy and what was the other one? Emotional empathy. And I believe cognitive empathy was described as being able to recognize emotion in other people, while the emotional empathy is the ability to experience emotions within that one individual. And yes, as a lot of people have have said, it does appear that Haruaki has both, you know? We do see him at several moments really get affected by the things he sees here and experiences. I mean, just look at the scene where at the end of Wit, when he saw Rokako hanging. I mean, that man was haunted. That man was scarred. And you know, he's definitely able, you know, even if you don't want to say he, at the very least, he absolutely recognizes the emotions other people are feeling. It's part of why he's so good at trying to manipulate people. And so I was definitely off base when I was saying certain things about empathy and that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely too extreme with some of those statements there regarding that. Yeah, I think another thing that another comment, part of a comment I want to highlight. It was back when I was saying, you know, I was taken aback by the murder scene. That was part of it. The other part of it that kind of confused me was when Haruaki said, what was it? It was particularly... Oh, come on. What was the particular thing he said? Well, the certain phrases he would use to sort of distance himself from... Oh, yes. I remember. It's when he said he doesn't have a foundation, when the reason why he was angry after the murder was he was what particularly enraged him was Haru and Kaori's reactions, and that sort of thing confused me a bit, and Amber had a really good sort of comment about that whole spiel. It's I would, you know, anyone who's sort of interested in what we were talking about, I would advise go back to that comment, because it's just it's a whole lot there. But in particular, I liked the one phrase that Amber used, where he may find it easier to outsource his moral system. It's a fairly interesting conversation in and of itself. But, you know, a lot of what Amber said, and Lise comes into the discussion too here, basically Haruaki's kind of been desensitized to what's been going on here. And, you know, fair enough. That's not I don't think you can really argue against that. It's just some of the things he was saying I kind of misinterpreted or didn't really fully understand, and took it to mean something more extreme than I think it was. Another example I really liked from within the comments here. Yeah, this was brought up by Danzy, and of course, this example was from after I gave my whole spiel on that, but I do think it is a very important example to really show that Haruaki does in fact have empathy and it cares about these people in particular. And that was when Rokako went to him and decided to ask Haruaki's opinion about whether or not Mako could have been the Badger. And Rokako was asking for advice to say, because we know this from Wit, we know how committed she is to this thing. She said, hey, if she's the Badger, I'm willing to kill her for the sake of the humans. And if we look at it from Haruaki's perspective, I failed to fully appreciate this last episode. That would pretty much be a total win for Haruaki if he encouraged her to do that, because Mako as the Badger, unfortunately for us wolves, is quite unreliable. And it seems basically that if Haruaki was really playing this to win completely, he would have allowed Rokako to kill Mako, because that removes an unstable element from the feast, and it gets Rokako killed because of the corruption. Because that would be a big no-no for her to do that. So the fact that Haruaki decided against that, I think, shows at least, he's in previous loops, he's made promises to protect Mako, and then he's also developed this relationship with Rokako. I still believe he holds on to that, even if he says otherwise. Yeah. Basically, I really appreciate everything you guys said. Here's another funny one. Unknown Pitfall said the reason Mako voted for us is that she was told she was the Badger, but she doesn't really and basically she might have picked Haruaki because he's I think Hashimoto would have been a good choice too, but basically Haruaki is a big part of our feast here and trying to control the discussion. So maybe Mako, from her perspective, is trying to help the wolves by taking out an important member of the proceedings. I thought that was just kind of a funny thing. I don't know if that's the whole story, but it'd be pretty funny. It's pretty funny to me to think that she's trying to help the wolves by killing Haruaki. That's just kind of funny to me. So I think that's pretty much the most of what I wanted to say. Now, remember, it's kind of hard for me to say, like, I don't want to just read out all your comments. Like, I'll quote different parts of it, but I do want to I do worry. Like last time, I worry. I was looking back and at that episode I did, and most of it was just me talking. And I don't think. I mean, maybe you guys can tell me if this is not the case, but it felt like there was an imbalance between how much I was talking about around the game versus just playing the game itself. So I do want to make sure I get to the feast, because I'm sure that'll take quite a lot of time. But I do want you all to know that I read all of what your comments were and thought it was great. So I hope you all keep that up. And because if it's not like I write a script for this. It's not like I'm trying to. This is first impressions. It's a blind Let's Play, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But the result of that might be that if I misinterpret something or overreact to something, I could just say stuff that's just not correct or off base. So if I do that, I want you guys to be there to say, hey, knucklehead, you're talking nonsense, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So to sum up, Haruaki, Not, not psychopathic, but definitely in the middle of a crazy supernatural murder fest, and could probably go insane that way. So I won't hold it too much against him. Then yeah, that's what I hope to do now. So he's before I was feeling a bit, I was feeling a bit. How do I explain this? It felt a bit worse to voice him in my head, I guess. That's not the proper way to phrase what I'm feeling, but now that's been alleviated somewhat. But yeah, okay. Whew. Okay, let's get into the feast. I do want to get into this thing. I'm excited and nervous to see how it goes. Amber had an interesting idea regarding Yasunaga. Remember last time Yasunaga apparently told Kaori. Well, he didn't tell Kaori. Apparently Kaori told us that Yasunaga didn't know that Takumi was the snake, and they never had that talk. So, could it be that Yasunaga is just not telling Kaori? I think that's the case. But Amber had an interesting idea that maybe there's some sort of strange 4D chess move going on here where Yasunaga was actually the snake all along, and he and Takumi were planning to do something similar in the wit route. Sort of like how Rokako was acting on behalf of the spider. Maybe Takumi could have been acting on behalf of the snake. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I'm definitely expecting some sort of 4D chess moves to happen at some point. So I may be surprised by the particular stratagem, but I wouldn't be surprised that there is a stratagem. That's where I'm at right now. Okay, let's continue on. Start us off, Tai.
今日の宴を始めますよ。匠を殺した狼は絶対にくくらねばならないからね。
Prayer time was over for her. Her sadness and confusion had become hatred of the wolves. Everyone displayed approval of her words, including us wolves. We might have been the ones terrorizing them, but it wasn't hard for us to act like the powerless resistance. First of all, Yasunaga-kun said that Takumi-san's death rendered the snake's power meaningless. His tone seemed authentic, so it was hard to believe he was just hiding that we'd lost the snake.
となると、この時点で人だと確定しているのは、未だにモッチーと橋本さんの2人だけ。知恵ねえと、狼じじいと匠兄がいなくなって、この場には13人。未確定者がまだ11人もいる。
そこから1人、一番怪しいものを挙げて処刑するか。今日、
蛇が調べるもんを選べ。それでくくるのは残り10人じゃ。
Sorry, Hashimoto. Hashimoto's not as bad as Rokako in that regard, but he does still sometimes hesitate between his sentences.
順番から言えば
Yasunaga-kun was giving me a sideways glance.
兄ちゃんなんじゃないの？いろいろ喋ってるし、怪しまれたら。
Ooh. Haru jumping in there.
そうだ。下手すりゃジジイあたりが難癖つけそうじゃねえか。
僕、疑わしいですかね。
てめえと記者の女は初日にくくることを渋ったな。
それを言うなら、匠兄だってそうだし、肝臓さんだって否定はしなかったでしょ。
わしは、今日は くくる方に入れた。
Kanzo-san began presenting his unreasonable argument. He was basically saying that just about everyone here deserved the news.
まあまあ、実のところ判断材料はまだ全然足りないんですよ。初日の投票を判断材料にするのは間違いです。提案したのは猿のカゴ車である僕ですからね。まあ抑えてください。ちなみに楽観論だけど、昨日のおじいさんが狼だっていう可能性はないのかな。
ねえよ。
Huh? A certain answer from a place no one expected.
狼じじいは人間だっつってんだ。
お前それは。
全員動くな。
Sharp words and a sharp sound. He stabbed a kitchen knife from the dining hall into the tatami before him. Haru-chan gasped, while Kanzo-san made a stern face and got up.
動くなっつってんだ。じじいでも容赦はしねえぞ。
Well, this isn't what I expected. Kanzo-san could have probably beat him, even with 1 or 2 stab wounds in him. He didn't do it, though, probably because of the hostility in Yoshitsugu-kun's voice. It was highly restrained. Despite his intense words, he was very calm, and displayed great determination. It was a silent threat, and Kanzo-san believed it was worth listening to him.
なんじゃ、言え。
He even encouraged him to talk.
俺はカラスだ。昨日くくられた狼じじいは人だった。
Yes. Yes, it's happening. Now, I do know that, yes, we got to see the crow once before with Kaori, and she did use her power, yes. But still, I feel like we don't get to see the crow that often, so I'm always happy to hear it. Alright, so that's, we're pretty sure we know the snake, we know the crow, we know the monkeys. That just leaves Spider, right? I'm surprised by how quickly we're getting this information. Although I guess it's, you know... How many feasts do you think is the average in a game like this? How many times do you think it takes for either the humans or wolves to win? I'm not sure I've ever counted.
もし他にカラスを名乗る奴が出たら間違いなく偽物だから即ぶっ殺す。
やめたまえ。そんなパフォーマンスは。
やめねえ。読み意味の宴なんざ。要は信じるか信じないかの勝負だろ。なら一番本気見せた奴が勝つ道理だ。違うかよ、狼ども。殺される覚悟があんなら語ってみせろや、カラスをよ。
I saw what he was doing here.
結局は信じるか信じないかだろう。読み意味の宴ってやつは。
They'd both reached the same conclusion because they weren't wrong. Due to the unreliable nature of playing the odds, the feast became, just as I thought, a game of politics rather than logic. In political scenarios, the ones who were in charge were the loudest and most emotional, not the most rational. After all, logic required energy to understand. Basically, it was a pain in the ass. The people who actually enjoyed building complex, logical theories were by far in the minority. The majority disliked wasting energy on understanding them, even if they did have that capacity. There was something they all had in common. They all wanted to believe that the world was actually easy to understand. The truth was simple, and that someone was just making it more complex than it was. The truth was that any world worked based on complicated mechanisms. And it only seemed simple because you wanted to see it that way. However, it was impossible to impress the complexity of the world upon everyone. Thus, people always left certain matters, such as science or politics, to those considered to be pros. It was a sensible delegation of authority. But to earn trust, you need to present yourself in a way that was simple, rather than complex. You needed a story that the ones who'd cast logic aside could easily swallow. Like Takumi-san back then, and Yoshitsugu-kun now. They'd realized that, so they decided to gamble on it. Discard logic, pick up your methods based on feeling and preference, gamble, and win support. They'd provided the anti-logic crowd with a convenient lifeboat. It was definitely a good approach, but Yoshitsugu-kun had overlooked two things.
いねえようだな。じゃあ、俺が本物のカラスだってことでいいな。
First was his own nature. He was a persuasive person even when there was no basis for it. I actually admired that. Yoshitsugu-kun was your generic, edgy delinquent to the core. However, he was kind at heart, as well as passionate and naive. That much was plain for me to see. It was why everyone could believe him if he took things seriously enough. As long as he stayed honest, no one would doubt him. It was a rare and valuable talent. In a good-natured society, that is.
なるほど。わかった。じゃあ義継はカラスのカゴ車で確定。狼じじいも人で確定。あと10人の中に3人の狼がいるってことだ。
That was all he'd earned by revealing his guardian to us wolves. Was it really worth the risk? The other thing he'd misunderstood was that this was something that couldn't be emulated. No one who tried something similar would get the same results. This was because winning via brute force was usually a bad move in this game. He was an exception. It did nothing, and he could only use it once. You should have saved that for the endgame, Yoshitsugu-kun. Oh, how I wanted to say that. I wanted to put a shit-eating grin on and tell him that. I really wanted him to understand how harsh the world really was. Thus, I had to survive. Damn it. I had to win this even more now.
義継君の勇気あるカミングアウトに僕は敬意を表したい。
That definitely doesn't seem like the most benevolent of intentions. But again, I think I understand more now just how, crazy situation in and of itself, plus the looping phenomenon. He's gonna get not only desensitized, but, I think the word the god used last time was warped. He's gonna get a bit warped. So... yeah.
そして僕も言うべきことがある。
何でしょうか。
Is he gonna reveal that he's the snake? Okay. If this was Yasunaga-kun's trap, I'd fall right into it. It'd be embarrassing, but I'd just loop back and try again.
僕は蛇のカゴ車です。だから自分を調べるわけにはいかない。
Here we go.
あなたが？
僕は彼ほどの強烈なアピールはできませんが、もし対抗して狼が蛇を名乗ってきたら その時は全力で論破してみせましょう。
Yes, facts and logic.
いますか、蛇を語る方は。
No, of course not. Takumi Moro really was the snake.
どうやらこれで味覚停車が9人に絞られたみたいです。
And Yasunaga-kun didn't know that either. Oh, how I wanted to thank Takumi-san. Because of how thoroughly he kept his secret, we wolves would be saved. Okay, now this is getting to be too good to be true territory here. Where's the trap? Where's the pitfall? Is it gonna come from Hashimoto? What's gonna happen?
昨日はあんな言い方をして匠兄を調べることを自分で提案してたんですね。
Or is it gonna come from Yasunaga? I'm waiting for it.
そういうこと。ただ無駄になってしまったけどね。
そうね。調べる人を明示してしまうのも考えものだわ。調べた端から殺していけば確定者はいつまでも増えない。
Bingo. That was why I suggested we check Takumi-san. I also wanted to see his reaction, to help me figure out if he was the snake.
じゃあ不採石くんが初日夜に調べたのは一体誰だったのかな。
I already had an answer to that. Last time he said Kanzo, but is he gonna change?
織部安永くんです。
Oh, nope.
彼は人でした。
Switching tactics.
あと8人。
もう一つ仮定しておこうか。その可愛い女の子、メイコちゃんだったかな。彼女はムジナじゃないかな。
Yep, looks like he noticed too. I knew he would point that out.
それは嘘をつくとかいう記者さんが言うとったあれかね。
そうです。多分実在したんだと思うんです。
そんなんじゃない。メイコはヤギだもん。
The goat, huh?
すみません。よくわからないこと。ただ、私もそう思うのです。そうでもなければ、このように誰もをくくるなどという子ではありませんから。
まあ彼女の立ち位置はよくわからないのだけど、一つ言えるのは、もし狼と合流しているのならきっと静かにしておけと指示を受けると思うんですよね。
Well, no, we haven't really had any contact with her.
だから彼女も人だということでいいんじゃないかと思うわけです。少なくとも狼じゃない。
もしそれを外せば残り7人にまで減ります。肝臓さん、
ふざけんじゃねえ。
Silence.
無地なだ。そんなもんおらん。
Huh. Where's this coming from, Kanzo?
カンちゃん、しかしゲンさんもそのようなことを言ってたわよ。
ゲンの親父は最後ボケとったろうが。そんなもん信じられるか。
でも狼なら黙ってるはずって説には説得力が。
これっぽっちもね。狼がガキを見殺しにして目くらましにしとるかもしれんだろうが。おい、ヤスは本当に蛇の加護で人だと知れたか。
はい、間違いなく。
それならヤスは甘すぎる。
そんなことは。
チーが死んだ時もくくらんでええと言った。
ああ、そうですか。僕が信用できないと。
The mood changed. Yasunaga-kun was as stern as he'd been when he was a wolf.
兄貴、黙らせるならやるぜ。
それはまだいい。
ああ、やっすんが怒った。こりゃ早いとこ退散したいな。
兄ちゃん、やめようよ。怖いって。おじいちゃんも。
久石さん、さっきは僕を調べるべきだって話になってましたが、それはもう無意味ですよね。
そうだね。すでに調べてたから。
じゃあ次調べるのはハルちゃんです。
Whoa. What? Why?
私？
I mean, to be fair, Haru, at several points before this, in the past few days, she was laying it on a bit thick. So I'm not that surprised actually now that I think about it, but still, I'm wondering if there's something specific that led him to that.
私を調べてくれるの？
ああ、一度調べてもらったら安心だろ。
I didn't mind that. Now that I'd taken the role of Snake, I could lie as much as I wanted. But why did he suggest it now?
ふざけるな。
Naturally, Kanzo-san snapped.
わしを調べろ。わしは人じゃ。若えのもわしが優先じゃと言った。
Really, Yasunaga? Are you really doing this just to get to him?
確かに発言量の多い順から調べるのが順当かと思うが。
馬脚を表したな。
なんだと？
あなたは孫娘の安否確認より自分が宴で選ぶる方が大事なんだ。
てめえはチーが死んだからって春のことを手元に置きてえってか。
Wow. This is pretty incredible.
はあ？僕はハルちゃんのことはそんな風には思っていませんが。
Oof. I know you're totally cool with murdering everyone here, but that's still kind of oof for you, Haru. Yasunaga-kun was able to finish his sentence because Kanzo-san's fist didn't reach him. Yeah, this is just spiraling out of control very quickly. Yoshitsugu-kun had jumped in at just the right time to take it in his stomach. He then sunk his left fist into Yoshitsugu-kun's cheek. The teen fell to the ground. The kitchen knight from before was still in the tatami a few feet away from him. Kanzo-san had already noticed it, so he beat Yoshitsugu-kun to the punch and grabbed the handle. Then prepared to... Everyone was looking at Kanzo-san right now. Cold stares, fearful eyes, judgmental glances. Yasunaga-kun's trap wasn't that special. Like he'd said, it was worth investigating Kanzo-san and confirming his humanity at this point. However, since he was so rough about it, Kanzo-san had gone and treated Haru-chan as Yasunaga-kun's woman, rather than his dear granddaughter. That was when he had to retract his statement and stop himself. There was many ways he could have gone about this, like saying that letting Haru-chan be investigated could get her killed, like Takumi-san last night. Or he could have said he'd made a mistake, that Haru-chan was more important, and let her have the turn. He would have still had everyone's respect then. He could have still been the backbone of the village. But now, he'd turned violent and pointed a blade at the defenseless brothers. Right now, he was just a threat to everyone. Upon coming back to his senses, he seemed to have realized that he'd crossed a line he could never come back from. The crude old man was at a loss for words. Excuses, manipulation, rationalization, all of these concepts were foreign to a character as stoic as he was. A man of few words had little he could say after such a catastrophic blunder. However, out of all the words he could have chosen, I certainly didn't expect those.
おじいちゃん。
わしは焼きが回った。ヤスの言う通り、わしはやるべきことを見失って、人に刃を向けた。もう誰もわしの言うことなど聞きゃしねえし、それが正しい。いなくなるべきはわしだ。
そんな。嫌だよ。私一人ぼっちになるじゃん。
春、そんなことはねえ。安水がお前の家族よ。皆そうしとる。安。
何ですか？
わしがいなくなれば狼に勝てる。
そうせざるを得ないです。
よしもだな。
当たり前だろうが。
織部のいい息子持ったじゃねえか。
そんなこと。
ああ、一旦落ち着きましょう。いろんなことがごっちゃになってる。
よそ者は黙っとれ。
しかし、
これは僕らの問題です。
参ったな。
カンちゃん、まだ早いんじゃないんかね。
じじい、ババアから死ぬのが正しい順番じゃ。それはええ。耐えばあも覚悟はしとけ。
おじいちゃん。
春、達者でな。
Oh man. Were these people brain dead? This wasn't the time or place for this. Personal vendettas, lover spats, brotherly union, maturity, generation gaps. This wasn't a situation where you could waste time on something like that, was it? Kanzo-san was human, no matter how you put it. Sure, he'd sown some discord, but they had to make an effort to fix that. I didn't mind if they got rid of someone who'd made an unnecessary scene, but their decision should have been more calculated and less emotional. Those who weren't part of their circle just didn't know how to react. Hashimoto-san showed some serious courage trying to intervene. However, he'd underestimated how cold Yasumizu could be towards outsiders. I knew that well, thanks to Chiemi. Well, not like I objected to this outcome. If these people were going to accept his death and find unity in madness, I'd just play along. I wasn't looking down on them, I just thought they were brain dead. Nah, but I had to take that back. Madness was a fearsome foe to face. I'd let myself revel in victory once I actually won. And I would definitely emerge victorious. Thanks to my looping, I had all the attempts I needed and then some.
にはならないで。
Okay, so this, he said it twice now, at least twice. He may have said it 3 times so far, but this is something that Amber reminded me of a few episodes back, I think. I think it was when we were talking about why Haruaki hesitated on killing anyone else after Chiemi committed suicide. And I'm not sure I mentioned this in one of the episodes before, so I'm going to mention it again, because it's a good point to remember. We still don't know the nature and origin of his looping power. Okay? That's very important. Because although we understand a bit of how it works, we don't know if there are potentially any limits. So, I think it was in particular a response to, well, why didn't they at least try to get, information? Why didn't Haruaki at least try to get some information at the cost of, looping? And Amber made the perfectly rational, understandable response to that, is to say, well, we don't actually know if this is infinite. We have Haruaki right here, within this one feast, 2 or 3 times, at least twice, say, yeah, I just have my looping, it's going to be fine. And the fact that it's happened more than once, and now we just got this ominous flashback to what Chiemi said. Now I'm giving that thought more weight. So, yeah. Why'd her face just come back to my head? She'd had nothing to do with this turn of events, right? Not even the last time. What was I not supposed to become? A monster? I don't know. How long have I been going? Maybe we can go a bit further. Let's try. Takumi-san and Chiemi were gone now. Thus, the task of tying up, dragging, and hanging Kanzo-san had transferred to the Oribe brothers. The elder brother led, while the younger one dragged. Everyone else followed after, singing a saddening version of Prayer to Shanai. Though perplexed, the journos joined in too, and they looked a lot like I had back then. By this point, the feeling that the villagers were crazy had dulled, and I was starting to believe that I was the anomaly here. The term peer pressure came to mind. There certainly was a way to use peer pressure to erode people's aversion to murder and reduce them to marionettes. By imposing such meaningless, repetitive rituals on a group of people enough times, they would eventually be viewed as commonplace events. It'd been done many times throughout history, in wars, POW camps, cultist sects. And the feast, Yasumizu as a whole was a prime example of that. The local culture was deeply ingrained in their minds. Anyone living here would eventually start to question their own way of life. So the story I'd created wasn't far off the mark. Anyone living near a hellish place long enough would themselves become inhabitants of hell. If you looked at it that way, I might have been a resident of hell myself. Now, what did the great lord of the local hell, Shanai-sama, want out of something so needlessly profound? I still didn't know. In fact, I wasn't sure if the god himself knew what he wanted out of all this. Just a thought. An eternal dance of murder and concealment, shrouded in the densest mist.
おじいちゃん。
もう挨拶はした。皆、あとは頼んだ。
落ち、なかれ。
おじいちゃん。
落ちなかれ。
The brothers extended their hands, and the rugged old man's body fell down. In a moment, the rope went taut. I heard a sound akin to a frog's croak from down below. The seeds of Malice I'd planted had grown and bloomed. I wanted him to live a bit longer and play the role of the antagonistic, hateful old fart, but oh well. Deciding to kill him would probably haunt Yasunaga-kun until he died. As someone with a strong sense of justice, he would either eventually self-destruct or struggle to find some internal justification for it. No, we'd promised Kaori that we would kill him soon. Whatever the case, there was no problem for us. For now. I just had to be wary of some surprise attacks from the rest. Hope that the last of the Uematsu, Rokako-san, didn't have any secrets. And think of how to deal with these two. Hashimoto-san wasn't shaken by the lynching, and as we returned, our eyes met. I had no idea what he was thinking. His expression and eyes both were unreadable to me. He, on the other hand, clearly read something about me. That wasn't fair. First Yoshitsugu-kun, now Hashimoto-san. Their goddamn superpowers were just unfair. They were the reason why I, a normal, talentless individual who didn't stand out in any way, had to take such drastic measures. I couldn't even tell if he actually suspected me or was just slightly uneasy. I felt like I was doing a good job, but since I was now at the forefront, it was more likely that I would be targeted. What would he do next? I was actually kind of excited for tomorrow's feast. Okay, I think we're gonna call it there. I do think I do have some more thoughts I want to talk about, but I am finished with the episode now. So if you're just here for the Raging Loop, I hope you enjoyed your time here, and I hope to see you next time. Okay. Okay, and otherwise, if you're still here, I guess I do want to ask. Yeah, because we're coming up on an hour. Like, I timed it right this time, because, I want to stick within that hour. It's just more convenient for me that way. But what I noticed is, it didn't really give me as much time as I may have wanted to sort of dig deep into all the different comments that people have. And I've noticed this has happened before sometimes with some of the other videos I've had. So, to get to the point, last episode, I felt it was a bit too uneven between my talk and then talking about the comments versus me playing the game itself. So I do want to ask you guys if you'd be willing to weigh in on this. Do you prefer more of a because this episode should be mostly the game, Raging Loop, and then it was only that bit in the beginning where I just talked about the comments. What do you think is a good ratio for that? Because you guys really gave some good comments, and I think I would be okay doing a bit more of a deep dive on that sort of thing. My only worry is that then it would take up almost half or more of the video. That's the thing. I didn't want to... I think, certainly for me, being that I'm just a random guy on YouTube, I think most people who find me and these Let's Plays I'm doing, they're here for the game, They're not necessarily... Or you're not necessarily here for me. You're just... you want to see a playthrough of this game. So I worry that if I were to spend much more time on things not in the game, people would not enjoy that or want to see that. So I guess I'm asking for feedback here. What do you think is a good ratio for talking or versus playing the game and then talking about the game / comments about the game, because I do find it a bit disappointing that I wasn't able to kind of go a bit deeper, and I didn't, because I didn't even reply through comment through the text before, because I wanted to wait for this episode. We could talk about it. We could talk about it in the comments this time. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think that's pretty much summed it up. Anyway, this was a good episode. Definitely lots to talk about for next time. I'll have to go back and sum things up because, oh boy, we had. As I said during the episode, I was expecting 4D chess, but we didn't get that. We got the table the chessboard was on flipped. We got a table flip here with Yoshitsugu and Kanzo just going crazy. So that was definitely a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.